I want to talk today about Elvis. Elvis died in 1977, only a few months after I was born. I was born in June. He died in August of 1977. And my mom was crazy about him. And yeah, I heard a lot about him when I was growing up. And I think, you don't hear about him as much these days. But since I was, growing up in the 80s, he was still a very, very big thing, and he still is a big thing today. And what was always mystery about him is how he just fell apart so rapidly at a relatively young age. He died in his 40s. I think that he is a very clear case of biomechanical collapse, and I'll explain why today. He died at age 42, and he was using a lot of drugs at the time, not like party drugs, more kind of opioids and sedatives and stimulants, and taking them all at the same time. If you look at his last performance, which was in June of 1977, he looks all bloated, he put on a lot of weight, and he's slurring, and you can tell that there are a lot of neurological things going on, which definitely shouldn't be the case for someone that's 42 years old. Let's look at him when he was younger. Was this always going to happen, or did something happen along the way? If you look at Elvis, in his 20s, the guy had terrific structure. Like, his arches were a bit narrow, but very good kind of skull definition, very good body, always was a very healthy guy, natural charisma. And this is what made him famous, right? Women of the time absolutely fell in love with him, and he had this amazing charisma, great profile, everything. So I'm sure if you looked at his curved speed, it would have been very healthy. After his 30s, he has this rapid decline in health. After 1970 until 1977, it's the last 7 years of his life, like, he blows up in weight. He weighs over 250 pounds. He takes on all the, he's taking all these pharmaceuticals, drugs, and he seems to just fall apart. And he almost like self-destructs. A lot of people that knew him at the time were talking about how his mental health had just deteriorated very rapidly. And his manager, Tom Parker, talked about how he gotten very difficult to work with after 1970. And when I look at all this, it points to a very clear sign of something happened here, right? There was one trajectory which was great, and then there was another trajectory which is like horrible. When you research about him, you find out about his smile makeover. So the thing that you need to know about Elvis was that he cared a lot about his looks and about his teeth. He invested a lot in his teeth. He had his own dentist who became quite popular for selling one of his crowns. But basically, in around 1970, Elvis gets pretty extensive dental work done, and they believe they put crowns on pretty much all of his teeth. And they know that because later, one of these crowns famously fell off, and his dentist sold it at an auction. The reality was, he didn't just have one crown. Like, basically all of his teeth had been crowned, because it's not that they weren't healthy, it's that his dentist sold him on the idea that he would look, much better with this Hollywood bright smile that crowns would give him. And so you can almost think of it as like his dentist killed Elvis. And that's, the reality. Do I think Elvis would have done this? Like, was that his own idea, or did the dentist likely plant that idea in his head? I don't think that many people wake up saying, oh yeah, I'm going to put crowns on all my teeth. What you see after the dental work of 1970 is that is when everything just clearly tanks, physical and mental health, and his use of drugs and everything. It's not even under question that it was this smile makeover that a dentist likely pushed and promoted the idea to him of that killed her. Yeah, if anything, he's guilty of vanity. He had pretty good teeth and a pretty good smile, and he was a very good looking guy, and Elvis wanted to be perfect. And in his pursuit of perfection, he got these crowns. Unfortunately, when you do crowns and dentists of the day, even today, they don't understand that the jaw needs multiple positions supported by the cusp of the teeth, right? So when you bend your head forward, the jaw moves forward, and it's got to be supported in that position. When you bend your head back, your jaw goes back, got to be supported in that position. And when they do crowns, they don't know any of that. So they just create the crown so that your jaw, your upper and lower jaw and the rest position close nicely together and all the teeth fit, right? Looks great. Unfortunately, that's not healthy. And if you just locked that position, but you don't think about the other positions, what typically happens is this soft tissue that covers the skull starts to deflate. That crushes the skull. The skull crushes the brain. You start having neurological and cognitive dysfunction. Your spine and skeleton twists. And that is exactly how the last 7 years of Elvis's life played out, right? It is like textbook biomechanical collapse. What I think people should remember about Elvis is not that he kind of partied his life away and just like threw his career down the drain. That is likely not what happened. Like, what happened was he was in rapid biomechanical collapse, trying to figure out what the hell was going on with himself, was taking all these pharmaceuticals to try to deal with it and didn't know how to explain it to anybody. And everybody just thought he was going nuts and falling apart. And, eventually biomechanical collapse got the best of him.